Hi everyone, thanks for joining us on today's show. My name is Justin, and I just want to do an introduction on why I'm doing what I'm doing with this YouTube channel. It's called The Wolf of Landscaping, and my whole goal is to help continue the education in the green industry for both young entrepreneurs and people that have been in the industry a while that maybe haven't had the exposure to other companies or how some of the big guys do. So in this video, I'm going to do a little background on myself, and like I said, thanks for tuning in, and please subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. I've been in the green industry now for almost 10 years, coming up this April 2021, and I really never thought I'd end up here. But during high school, I wanted to be a lawyer, and in 11th grade, I needed a summer job. And what better way to get an easy, quick summer job to go start at a nursery? They're always hiring, always looking for high school help. So I did that, and actually had a friend that worked there. And again, this is just like a summer job, loading customers' cars, moving plants around, watering plants. That was the biggest thing. And so I started doing that. About after the first month, I realized that I really liked it. It wasn't like just a summer job for me. I wanted to make a little bit more out of it. And one of the things I really enjoyed watching was some of the employees that have been there a while was selling to customers, and working with them, finding plants, fit their what they're looking for, their budget, all that. So I ended up, really focusing on this, and got a plant list from the nursery, which allowed me to look up plants. And most kids my age, they're hanging out with friends and just chilling. But I, started looking up plants. I bought plant books, and really just took an interest in it. So after the first couple months, what I noticed, I started, learning more, and just even listening into conversations really helped. And after that, I started doing some sales, and I ended up loving it. And after that first year, I went back to school for senior year, and looked forward to next summer to when I would go back, and I did, following April, and I went back and did a little bit more sales. I had a year or season under my belt, and I always used to get excited when the plant deliveries from the big wholesale nurseries would come in, because then I'd be able to see some new species, new varieties, all this stuff that in the plant world is constantly updating. So the second year, I did way more sales, and I really enjoyed it. Uh, Working with customers, and learned some of the machinery, driving some of the farm tractors, or four wheelers, or some of the loading tractors that had the big forks on it, or buckets, this and that. Really enjoyed it, and now I just graduated from high school, and was looking to college, and I decided to go to community college for the first 2 years, because one, I mean, my grades were nothing great, and it was cheaper. But I think the biggest reason now, looking back, was that I could still work at the nursery, uh, and I did. I worked a ton. I mean, almost every day, overtime. I just loved being there. So after the second season, school at my first semester of community college started up, and I really, dove headfirst into that. It was great living with my parents, working in school, but then next April comes around, and went back to the nursery, and obviously in April we're still in college, going to school, and I hated school. I didn't like high school. I didn't really like college. So what ended up happening was, I kept learning, right? One of the things I found is having an entrepreneur mindset is that you are always looking to learn more about the industry you're in. So after that, our third year, I started doing more, a little bit, started doing some design work, right? What goes here, what looks good, doing full layouts, and I ended up working with the landscaping crew at the nursery. Uh, I would drive one of the trucks out there, and we had two or three guys, and we just do plant deliveries or plant installations, or we would do full like design work, and I really enjoyed it. It was a nice family, small family nursery. It was a great way to start and get my feet wet in the industry. But after 4 years, I wanted to learn more. I pretty much felt that I had maxed out on my potential at this nursery. So, one of the things with working at a nursery, you meet tons of landscapers. So I had gotten a job over at a small, locally owned landscape company that did pretty much only landscape installs. They didn't do lawn mowing, they didn't do a lot of snow plowing, they did some, but mostly like residential driveways, subdivisions, but they really did a lot of landscape. So there, I was a laborer, but I also did a little design work, but it was mostly just learning how to do patios, retaining walls, walkways, learning how to prep soils and this and that, a little bit more in depth than I was getting at the nursery. But, you know, again, it was labor, a lot of it, and I wanted more sales because I had backed off. I was doing sales maybe, once or twice a week. It wasn't a lot, and I really loved dealing with customers and sales background. So after about 5 years in the industry, 3.5 at the nursery, almost 4, and then about a year and a half at this landscaping company, a great opportunity had come up to go work for a very large company. They were doing, 20 plus million in revenue a year. They were a big commercial landscape company, and it was an account management position. So this was totally new to me, as I was mostly doing like design work and residential clients. But this was account management for commercial uh, clientele, which would cover like lawn mowing, snow plowing, shrub trimming, like just a full grounds maintenance, year-round packages. And this was a fantastic experience. I want to say the year I was at this company, I probably learned the most. And it was just how companies can grow to 10 plus million, 20 plus million dollars in yearly revenue, but also how to take care of the commercial clients, because this is definitely a different ball game than cutting residential lawn or planting trees. This was definitely a much in-depth job. Anyway, so I started out training, worked with some account managers, and really enjoyed it to a point. And I really liked it because I was still working outside, doing site walks every day, meeting with clients, but it wasn't like a ton of labor. And I wasn't coming home just filthy every day like I was, for the last 5.5 years. So I learned a lot about commercial snow plowing at this job, and I really had never done snow plowing before. I snow blow driveways a little bit here and there. Never realized what went into the planning and the execution of the commercial snow removal and ice management industry. And this job here really opened my eyes to that. How much money there is, how much equipment, all the operations. But needless to say, I went through the winter and next spring, like I really liked dealing with design customers, and this just wasn't the job. I ended up leaving, and this right here is where I started my second landscape company. I had one which was like part-time plantings at the nursery, uh, my last year there. But this one here, there was a business partner involved, and we thought, why not? It's a great time, and so let's just jump in on it. And one of the things I realized early on was like I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I realized that, but I just didn't have all the pieces together. I knew entrepreneurs. It's a great thing to get into, starting businesses, stuff like that. But I didn't realize how much strength, mental strength, it took to do this. So I started a business with this business partner here, and we did pretty decent. We did a lot of like the Home Advisor, a lot of like what the startups do, Home Advisor, Thumbtack, stuff like that. Uh, but I just wasn't really happy where I was at. So after about a year of that, we just pretty much threw in the towel, and I was really burned out. So what ended up happening was I got a job in a completely different industry, which really opened my eyes to the sales process. I had the opportunity to, in a totally different field, go into becoming a mortgage banker. And so I did that because I was burned out on landscaping, and I was like, look, maybe this isn't for me. Uh, I was really in a bad spot. And so I was like, screw it. I'm going, becoming a mortgage banker. And and thought it'd be a great, totally different opportunity, something that maybe will work out. And it didn't. It lasted about 3.5 months. And but it was a fantastic experience in that all the sales training, right? And like learn about culture, how companies create culture that really help or hurt employees. And so it was a great experience. Don't regret it. But like I said, it only lasted about 3 months. And then I realized that one, I hated working indoors 24/7. Like it was a long job. I mean, it was a lot of hours, and, 6, 7 days a week, 12, 15-hour days in a building with like minimal sunlight, and totally different from what I was doing. So I took all the sales training, put it in my head, and then decided to leave and kind of tinker around with the landscaping again. What had happened was I needed money because I had moved down to a downtown area, and we were running out of cash real quick because it was very expensive living downtown. So I got a job as an account manager with a smaller landscape company, and really wasn't sure if this was going to work out. But again, I needed the money, so I went there and I worked for them for about 5 months. And I just didn't like how the company was run. I didn't like how they were doing things. I just didn't enjoy it. So after that, I was like, okay, I had my epiphany and I realized, look, I love landscaping, but I hate working for other people. Didn't like it at all. So I knew, being in the industry for a while, that landscape equipment is not cheap. It's expensive, and you get a lot of the used stuff that's beat up. It's in the repair shop half the time. So I just started formulating a plan on how I was going to start this company up. But I ended up getting a job at back in the mortgage industry, just so I can raise some capital throughout the winter months, because I didn't want to just jump right into snow plowing. That's expensive. So I started this job at the mortgage company late September and pretty much worked through Valentine's Day 2020. And doing this, I was able to save some money, a decent amount. And Valentine's Day, sayonara. I left the mortgage company and started out on my own for my third landscaping company. So doing this, I've read tons of entrepreneur books, mindset, self-help books, like everything to just ready my mind for what was coming, because I knew what was coming. So I ended up, leaving Valentine's Day, and you're excited, right? You're starting something new on your own, and so I went out and did landscaping. The problem was it was the year 2020, this past year, and March 17th, our state shut down, and that was real fun. Um, Started having marketing stuff going out, had clients calling, potential clients, and we were shut down, and we had bills to pay. We had about 10, 15 grand in the bank, and it was just a complete shock. I was like, the one thing I didn't see coming happened. So from March 17th to the end of April, we were shut down, couldn't do any work outside on customers' property. But that did not stop me from working. I woke up every day like it was a normal business day, plugged away at business plans and marketing stuff, trying to come up with new ways to attract clients. Started looking at equipment. We looked at trucks because I knew I needed a vehicle, especially doing landscape install work. You can't really use a Chevy S10 from 2002. So I ended up finding a great deal on the truck. So throughout this month and a half, I would much rather been working, since it was like the best spring in, I want to say, 120 years in the state of Michigan. But you made the most of it. And that's what, as an entrepreneur, you have to do. You just keep rolling with the punches, and it'll work itself out. And it did. End of April, went back to work. But by then, it was great because I had, a decent amount of work lined up, probably 2.5 months. Because I was hustling during the shutdown to still do sales calls. You can still look up a house on Google Earth and get the mulch square footage, right? Or sod replacements. Plus, I was going out to customers' houses and talking with them, working with the guidelines that the government set up. And boom, there we go. Worked all summer, and now getting into snow removal. And I tell you what, it's been a it's been a ride for sure. Not even at the full year mark yet, but in about 2 months we will be. And I'll be doing a video on our first year's revenue, which was actually really good for a startup company. We'll be forecast to hit about $250,000. So look out for that video around Valentine's Day. But that's my background. I've been in the industry for almost 10 years now, so I've seen a lot. I've worked with a lot of different companies. There's always more than one way to skin a cat, and that's what I really want to teach you guys on this channel is how to make a living doing this, but how to make a good living. Whether you want to build a $10 million company, or you just want to be a solo entrepreneur, solo operator, and but the biggest thing is how to maximize your profit. Right? You hear people talk, oh, I have $1 million company, or I have a $3 million company. But what's the profit margin? The revenue, yeah, it's impressive. But if they're 3, 4, 5% profit margin, that's not really sustainable. So this channel, one of the big things is to share knowledge within the industry. I really think that's important. I think more companies need to do that. But to share knowledge, and as well just to kind of build a video, a vlog, taking my company from our first year at roughly $250,000 to where we want to end up, which is $5-10 million of revenue with a decent profit percentage. So thanks for watching, and look out for my next video tomorrow. I will be posting daily. So with that, have a great night, guys.